In the 17th century, the French had what was in fact a monopoly on the Canadian fur trade through their colony New France. After hearing from the Cree that the country north and west of Lake Superior was the best fur country ever found, two French fur traders, Pierre Esprit Radisson and Medard de Grossier, sought permission to explore the region and establish a trading post of the great frozen sea that, according to the natives, lay still further to the north. Fearing this exploration of the bay might shift the focus of the fur trade away from the St. Lawrence River, French Governor Marquis d'Argenson refused to grant the Coureurs de Bois permission to scout the distant territory, even though the cost of moving furs overland might have been reduced. With the independent nature of most Coureurs de Bois, Radisson and Grossier set out to explore the upper Great Lakes basin. A year later, they returned home with top-quality furs in such an abundance, the evidence of the potential of the Hudson Bay region could not be denied. However, upon their return, they were taken into custody by the French authorities and charged with trading without a license. They were fined, and their furs confiscated by the government. Without French support, the two men turned to a group of Bostonian businessmen. These men decided to take the risk and invest to help finance their explorations. However, the 1663 voyage was stopped dead in its tracks when the ship ran headlong into pack ice in the Hudson Strait. Undeterred by the failure of the 1663 expedition, Radisson and Grossier, with the help of Boston-based English commissioner Colonel George Cartwright, went on a fundraising campaign throughout England to fund the men's exploration. They arrived in London in 1665, amid the Great Plague, otherwise known as the Black Death. They would eventually receive the sponsorship of Prince Rupert. It was the prince who introduced them to his cousin, King Charles II of England. In 1668, they set out with two ships, the Nonsuch and Eaglet. The two ships sailed out of Deptford, England, but the Eaglet, beset with problems, was forced to turn back to the British Isles. The Nonsuch continued on to James Bay, a small southern portion of Hudson Bay. It was there that they founded the first fort on Hudson Bay, Charles Fort, in 1668. What began as a disobedient act would evolve into the largest land acquisition in North America, and a company that would stand the test of time. Join us as we explore the history of the Hudson's Bay Company. On May 2nd, 1670, with a royal charter from King Charles II of England, the Governor and Company of Adventurers of England trading into Hudson Bay was incorporated. The charter granted the company a monopoly over the region drained by all rivers and streams flowing into Hudson Bay in northern Canada. For a while, the region was called Rupert's Land, named for the first governor of the company, appointed by the king. This drainage basin constitutes 1.5 million square miles, roughly over 1/3 of the area of present-day Canada. The land even dipped down into a portion of what would become the United States of America. The Hudson Bay Company became the largest landowner in all of North America. The HBC established 6 posts between 1668 and 1717. 3 were on James Bay: Rupert House in the southeast, Moose Factory in the south, Fort Albany, Ontario in the west. The other 3, Fort Severn, York Factory, and Fort Churchill, were established on the western shore of Hudson Bay. No inland posts were built until after 1774. With convenient access to the interior waterway system, York Factory became the main post. They were called factories because a factor, a person acting as a mercantile agent, did business from the posts. With the HBC ensuring consistent pricing throughout the region, a means of exchange became based on the MB, a made beaver, which is a prime pelt, worn for a year and ready for processing. The value of all goods was set by the MB. In other words, prime pelts, or MBs, were the main standard for currency in the Hudson Bay region. Native American men and European trappers spent the fall and winter trapping animals and preparing the pelts. They traveled by canoe and on foot to the forts to sell their products. Money had no real value in this wild frontier. These trappers bartered for goods such as knives, kettles, beads, needles, and the now famous Hudson's Bay point blanket. Each year when the native traders of the region arrived at the posts, the atmosphere turned extremely festive, almost to the point of being a formal ritual. In its early days, the prices at these trade meetings varied from post to post. This coveted fur trading business, along with its posts, became the object of contention between the English and the French. The French cultivated a network of Native American allies in their fur trade business, and these were often pitted against other native tribes allied with the English. This would evolve into the French and Indian War. With an English victory, the Hudson's Bay Company was free to resume operations and expand deeper into the wilderness. By 1774, they established their first inland trading post in Cumberland House, Saskatchewan. Today, the Hudson's Bay Company has evolved from trading post to department stores. Retail shops were established where posts had once been. Today, the department store business is the only remaining part of the company's operations that continues under the Hudson's Bay brand. It has diverged into joint ventures, credit cards, mortgages, personal insurance, petroleum, meat shops, books, restaurants, car rentals, Cineplex theaters, Lord & Taylor, and more are all now under the original corporation of the Hudson's Bay Company. A full 2/3 of the needs of all Canadians are met by the Hudson's Bay Company.